Good morning, Patrick here from Complete Health. And I had a client come in yesterday who was discussing an issue that he's been having since he's been coming in. I've been seeing the gentleman for about 2 to 3 months. And generally, as a rule of thumb, everything's pretty much better. He works as a boiler engineer, so he finds himself in some very awkward positions. And that was really a lot of the trigger. Now, we've got rid of most of the problems, but there was something that he was discussing with me, and he was like, well, this is my relaxation time, so this shouldn't really be a problem. And he was talking about sitting on a sofa. So this gentleman had a low back issue. And like I said, most of the issues have gone, but every time he sits on a sofa, trying to get out of the sofa, he finds it really difficult, and he doesn't know why. So here's the answer. When we look at our spine, essentially down at the bottom, we have these bits here that sit between the joints, and these are called our discs. Now, when we sit in a sofa is particularly soft and it's very low to the ground. So what should happen when we sit in a chair, our hips and our knees should sit at a 90-degree angle. So our hips should be sat here, and our knees should be here, and then our feet should be here. And it should roughly be at a 90-degree angle. That way, the spine can sit parallel to your shins. Now, ironically, if we tilt the chair back, what starts to happen is something that looks a bit like this. Now, if you tilt the seat back, the curve that's supposed to be on our lumbar spine starts to reverse, and essentially each one of those discs is a little bit like a jam donut. So what we can see here is the jam from the middle of the donut. Now, you tell me, if you squeeze a jam donut from one side of the donut, what happens to the jam? And most of the time, it will come out somewhere else on the donut, normally the side directly opposite where you're squeezing from. Now, exactly the same is true. If we have a spine that should sit in a normal curve like this, and we reverse that, all of a sudden, all the weight is coming to the front of the joint, and the disc is starting to push back. So his complaint is always, it feels really difficult to get back out of the sofa after he's been sat there for a period of time. Now, the reality of it is the simple explanation is you're putting too much pressure on a certain part of the spine, and as a result, anywhere that is vulnerable or high risk of injury will start to stretch, and that disc will start to push through, rendering it vulnerable to further injury. Now, again, for him, we've managed to clear up most of the problems, and it is still healing, but these are the kinds of things that run risks that people think are completely null and void or no risk at all. But sitting in a sofa can actually be really high risk for someone who has got a bad back. So some things that you can do that are particularly helpful, if you do find yourself slumping in the sofa, you're reversing your curve, try popping a couple of pillows into the small of the back, or even try and actually get it so that you're in almost a reclined position, so you're not actually slumping in the sofa, you're more actually flat. Or opt for a better chair. Don't go for a sofa. If you want to sit and watch TV, maybe get your desk chair out if you're having spinal problems. You have to make adaptations when there's a problem. You have to make adaptations when there's a problem. You can't just justify sitting on a sofa because it is comfortable and the only chair that you have if it's going to make the problem worse. So there's the explanation as to why actually sitting in a chair can actually start to create problems with the discs. Like I say, this isn't the only thing that causes problems with the discs. Anything that would result in this. So say, for example, if you're sat in your desk chair and you do the same thing where you kind of reverse the tilt in the foundations of your house or the foundations of your spine, the rest of the spine is starting to change as a result of that as well. So if you're doing the same thing in your desk chair, you're going to get the same problem. If you're doing the same thing in your dining room chairs, maybe you've got very low chairs, or like the kids' chairs in primary schools. Like I have teachers that come in and see me that are sitting in those really low chairs. Again, the knees are going to be much higher than the hips. The pelvis is going to rock back. All of a sudden, the discs are going to get squashed, and then we're going to start seeing those low back issues and those sciatic nerve issues start to occur. Patrick here from Complete Health. I hope you found some value in today's information. If you know anyone that might benefit from this information, we do leave these videos up on our Facebook wall. Please tag and share them. We love trying to help people solve their problems as quickly as possible. No, nobody thinks about it. And by the way, sofas were never designed for ergonomics. They were designed for comfort. However, it's not comfortable when you develop low back pain and sciatica. So it's the irony of the situation. I know personally, because I developed disc injuries as a result of studying to be a chiropractor. We practiced on each other way too much, and it actually did leave a lot of the ligaments and stuff in my lower back very vulnerable. But sofas are probably my number one trigger. So if I sit in a sofa for anything longer than an hour, I really struggle to get back out of it. And I'm 29. So there is no age limit on this thing. Sofas are sofas are sofas. So if you're finding that your sofas are not supportive enough, it may be worth actually thinking about finding some that are. Patrick here from Complete Health, and I'll speak to you again soon.